In this video, let's look at a couple of examples on how to compute a finance charge from a credit card. And we're actually going to talk about two different methods. One's called the previous balance method, or some books call it the unpaid balance method. And the other method is called the average daily balance method. So here's an example. You've got a credit card statement that tells you that the previous month's balance is $567.20. Your billing date is September 5th, and your interest rate is given as a monthly rate of 1.1%. By the way, if they give you yearly rate, then you may have to divide your yearly rate by 12 to get the monthly rate. Okay, so here's the table. Here are the transactions that occurred during the month between September 5th and October 5th. Because the very first thing we're going to do is figure out the finance charge on October 5th, and we're going to also find the new balance on October 5th, this time using the previous balance method. So here are the transactions that occurred during the month. There was a payment made of $275 that happened on September 8th. There were some charges made. 3 more charges were made during the month, and here are the amounts. Okay, in the previous balance method, to find the finance charge on October 5th, what we do is we use the simple interest formula, and as you know, that's I equals PRT. So I equals principal times rate times time. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the principal from the previous month. So that's where you're going to use your previous month's balance, which is $567.20. That's going to be your principal. For your rate, you're going to use your, we have here a monthly rate. So change that to a decimal, which will be 0.011. And then your time is for 1 month. Right, because so the time is month. So we have a monthly rate, and we are having this previous balance for a month, right? So the finance charge on October 5th is a month from September 5th. Okay, so now it's just a calculator problem, and when you input all of those figures into your calculator, your answer will be, and of course I've rounded it to the nearest cents, dollars and cents, and that's $6.24. So that's your finance charge on October 5th, in which you've used the previous balance to compute the charge and your simple interest formula. Okay, but now we need to find what is that new balance on October 5th. And so what you're going to do here is start with your previous month's balance, which is $567.20. and then go through all the transactions that you did that month. So there was a payment of $275, so we're going to subtract $275. There was a charge of $330, so we're going to add to the credit card a charge of $330. Then there was a charge of $190.80, so we add $190.80. There was another charge for shoes of $84.75, so we're going to add $84.75, and then of course we have to add the finance charge. So this is how the credit card's making some money. So the $6.24. All right, now add all that up, and you're going to calculate that the new balance on October 5th is $903.99. Okay, so that was computing finance charge and new balance of a credit card based on the previous balance method. Now let's look at the average daily balance method, which does require a bit more calculation. So we're going to use the same information, do the problem but in a different way. Okay, so for the average daily balance method, rather than using the previous month's balance in your simple interest formula as your principal, we're actually going to use the average daily balance for the actual month, starting from September 5th to October 5th, which is when you're computing the new balance for the month, right? So we take into account all of the different transactions that occurred during that month, and then we're going to find an average daily balance based on the days of the month and all of the transactions. So I find it helpful to make a table. And in my table, as you can see, I've got the dates. And so our billing period started on September 5th. And we did not do any transactions till September 8th, as you recall from our table up above. Right? So let me remind you of that. So on September 8th, we made a payment of $275. So, so really, for 3 days of that month, our credit card balance, or the credit card balance, was equal to the $567.20 that $567.20 that was on the credit card, right? Okay, and so and we had 3 days, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th, where our credit card balance was $567.20. So you're going to multiply times $567.20, and you're going to keep track of that amount, and that's $1,701.60. Use your calculator for that, okay? Use your calculator to figure that out. All right. Now on the 8th, you made a payment of $275. So now your credit card balance on the 8th went down by $275. So take your $567.20 and subtract your payment, $275. And so that's going to give you now a new balance on your credit card of $292.20. Okay? So we're subtracting $275 from $567, it's $292.20. And how many days did we have this balance on the card? Well, we didn't. There was not another charge until the 21st of September. So from the 8th to the 20th, you had a balance of $292.20. And so that's 13 days. So you're going to take 13 days times your $292.20 and use your calculator again, and that one is $3,798.60. Okay, there you go. Okay. So then on the 21st, there was a charge made of $330. You're going to add the $330 to the $292.20, and now your daily balance, your daily balance is $622.20. Okay, so your credit card balance is up by $330. And how many days did you have that balance? Well, you had that balance from the 21st to the 26th, because on the 27th you charged again. So that's 6 days, right? So over here I want you to multiply 6 times $622.20 and do that in your calculator, and you get $3,733.20. All right, so there you go. Then on the 27th, there was another charge made of $190.80. I bet you're getting the idea now, right? So add $190.80 to $622.20, and your new balance in the credit card is $813 even. Okay, and you have that balance from the 27th to the 1st, which is 5 days. You see that? So 5 days at $813. And you use your calculator for that. That is 4065 even. Okay. Finally, on the 2nd of October, you charged $84.75, and you have that from the 2nd to the 4th, because you're computing the finance charge on the 5th. So 2, 3, and 4, and so add $84.75 to $813, and now you have $897.75. And you have 3 days of that. 3 times $897.75. And so that gives you $2,693.25. Okay. So now here's a couple of things I want you to do. First of all, you should check and make sure that if you add up all these days over here, that you get 30 days, because there were 30 days in September, right? So it's from September 5th to October 5th is 30 days. So notice that if you add 3 plus 13, that's 16 plus 6, 22, and plus 8, that's 30. So these days should always add up to however many days are in the month. Okay. So that's a check that you didn't miss a day. And now what you're going to do is go ahead and add all of these numbers up, and then we're going to divide by 30, and that gives us our average daily balance. So when I add all these big numbers up over here, I got 15991.65. And you can check all of these to see if you're on track, okay? And now we're going to divide that by 30, and that's going to give us our average daily balance of $533.06 when it's rounded to the nearest cent. So there's your average daily balance for that billing period. Okay, now we need to compute the finance charge. And again, I told you that's going to be interest equals principal times rate times time. But instead of using the previous month's balance like you did in the work above, now you're going to use your new average daily balance, 533.06, and then times your monthly rate, 0.011, and of course it's 1 month. And so when you multiply all of that out, you get 586. And so what's the new balance on October 5th? Well, we know that on October 4th we had $897.75 in the credit card, right? That's from up here, $897.75. And now we're going to add the finance charge of $586, which you computed in Part B. And so your new balance on October 5th is $903.61. Now, couple of notes. Depends, you want to check your book to see what method is used to compute the time, okay? Because some books will use one for 1 month, but then other books will actually use for time, they will make a fraction, and they will take the number of days in the month, which in this case was 30 days, and they'll divide it by the total number of days in a year, which is 365. And so some books, you will get that that decimal as your time. And so if you're noticing that your finance charges are off by a few cents or by a bit, try this method and see if when you replace that in here, whether you get the answer that your book is using. Okay? All right, hope that helps.